All right, we're moving into the third and final part of this series, which is how we take students from $20,000 a month to $84,000 a month. And once again, if you guys find any value in this at all, you're the reason that these podcasts and the YouTube channel grow. I don't run advertising to the podcast. I don't run advertising to the YouTube channel. So please support by clicking subscribe, clicking follow, whatever the hell they do nowadays, right? I think it's subscribe to the podcast. All right. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, engage, interact, share it with a friend. I really appreciate it. All right. Enjoy the content. All right, coach. So inside of this video, I'm going to be breaking down the methodology for the mastery coach and how we're going to take our mastery students from right around $20,000 a month up to $84,000 a month, which would make them on the run rate for being $1 million company. So what I'm going to go over here is the criteria in which we're going to do that and how the step-by-step on how you're actually going to work our students through that. So there's a lot of minor details into, running $1 million company. And this list would have been extremely long if I, broke that down step by step. So what I did when I was creating this is I thought to myself, what are really the three most important things that we have to do to get an individual who's making $20,000 a month and help them 4X and do $84,000 a month? And those three things were scaling lead generation, hiring and building out management systems, and really taking the CEO from being the doer to actually becoming a leader within their company. So let's break down each of those steps, starting with scaling lead gen. So at this stage, they should have a really solid outbound lead generation system. They should have a really good referral system because they learned that in Mastery Accelerator, and they should have a really good DMer, or at least a DMer. Doesn't necessarily have to be really good. And in a lot of cases, your first DMer hire is actually pretty bad, but they should have a DMer. All right. The goal now is to continue to scale their outbound team using this simple equation below. So the simple equation is taking their target for calls booked, right? So, it would be smart. And this is like one of those extra steps, but it would be smart to have them do the target setting module under the guise of creating $1 million company. So going back to the target setting module, re-entering in $1 million as the revenue, working backwards from there and getting some new targets. And once we have those new targets, and I can add that extra layer, I probably will actually add that extra layer in here. But once we get those new targets, we can take the target for calls booked per month and divide that by their average call booking per hour, them and their DMer, if they're still doing DMs, or just their DMer if they've completely outsourced it at this point. And that will give us the hours needed monthly to reach this call volume. All right. So then from there, it's like, all right, great. On average, there's 30 days in a month. This is how many hours you need. You take that total number divided by 30. That's the daily that you need. Take that daily, multiply it by 7. Great. This is how many hours we need worked a week from DMers in order to reach the call booking target that we need. Okay. So at that point, it's like, all right, great. Now we need to start hiring DMers to reach that number. And if that number is like astronomical, maybe it's because their show rate sucks. Maybe it's because their closing rate sucks. Maybe it's because their call booking per hour sucks, right? So maybe it's not necessarily that they need to hire all these DMers, but maybe they need to first fix some of those other variables to the overall equation of figuring out your targets first. So there's really like two different ways you can go. You can either say like, yeah, actually your close rate's pretty good, your show rate's pretty good, your call booking per hour is pretty good. Great. This is actually the target. Great. Now we need to hire X amount of DMers to get you there. And you want to do this over a period of time. It's not like immediately you're going to hire all these DMers, right? It's like over the next 90 days, this is our target. We're going to hire 2 extra DMers working 40 hours a week as an example. So that's option 1. Option 2 is like, actually, you ran through the target setting module. Show rate isn't that good. We need to fix that first, and then we could redo the equation when we have a better show rate, right? Like that's just an example. The 3 variables that would really affect the equation would be your close rate, your show rate, and your call booking per hour. So making sure that those are good before advising them on this step here. Okay. So yeah, scaling outbound, great. Now what we're going to do is as we're scaling outbound, we're going to continue to work through the remaining lead gen steps until they have all 6 in their business using this doc here, right? So the remaining here would be ads, owned media, affiliates, and partnerships. Okay, the next one here is hiring and building out management systems. So they're going to do steps 1 and steps 2 pretty simultaneously. They're going to scale lead generation, and they're also going to hire and build out management systems. Like I said, pretty simultaneously. It's not lead gen, then management systems. It's like, no, you're working on these both pretty much at the same time. So as you're God, there's some typos in here. As you hire out each of the doer roles, so assistant coach, VA, DMers, closers, so on and so forth, ensure that you, right, the client, is following the management systems taught in the course for each respective hire and the systems taught in the overarching management and leadership module. All right. So every single, like, how to manage your DMer, how to manage your closer, how to manage your VA, how to manage XYZ person, there's frameworks in there. We got to make sure that our clients are following those frameworks and really taking management seriously. All right. This is like the secret sauce. And if they can't figure out how to hire and build out management systems, they will never, and I mark my words, they will never have a 7-figure company. And that's a fact, an absolute fact. Okay. So, and then also continuing to learn, the principles taught in the overarching management module and leadership module. All right, continue to have them work through hiring 101 module and ensure that they're hiring the right positions at the right time. That's super important too. A lot of mistakes that people make is they hire too many people too early or they hire people too late, right? So really understanding the hiring 101 module and making sure that they're hiring people at the right time that they need to. And I go over that inside of that module. All right, the last step here, and once again, all 3 of these kind of like happen simultaneously, or at least should be focused on at the same time, is taking our CEO who's doing a lot of doing and continuing to make them a leader. All right, so there's really 3 things they have to do here. They have to really finalize their tracking systems for necessary data to make decisions. You're going to want to refer to the overall data tracking module here, but part of being a leader is understanding what's going on in your business and making decisions according to that. And you have to do that with data. So number 2 is making sure that the leader has a really clear mission statement and tenets, ensuring that you as the leader are using these tenets described in the management module and the leadership module. So if your client does not have clear company tenets and a clear mission statement, they need to. And they need to also be using them appropriately, which is taught in the management module and the leadership module. All right, lastly, a leader sets the clear strategic vision for the company. And I have my exact process on how we do that inside of the leadership module. So you could refer to that as well. All right, the unspoken for a mastery student is constantly identifying the next bottleneck through the exercise taught in the leadership module. So there's an exercise taught in the leadership module. It also happens to be the very same exercise that you guys do in your game planning and your game planning calls. But doing that on, I would say, a monthly basis would be the frequency that I would do. And really making sure that your client is focused on the one thing, right? Like if we had a bunch of levers on a wall, you want to make sure that your client's focused on the biggest lever that has the most leverage, right? Like if we solve this one problem and I pulled this one lever, our business is going to move forward the farthest, opposed to me pulling all these little levers. Always going to be little levers, always going to be little challenges to solve. Got to make sure that we get our clients really focused on what their next biggest bottleneck is, which is taught through this exercise, and making sure that they're focused on that. All right, these are the 3 with the 1 unspoken for on how we're going to take our mastery students from 20K a month to 84K a month. All right, let's get it done.